are with NBC's senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez. He's in Chicago, where one of these roundups took place over the weekend. Hi, Gabe. Good morning.
Hey there, Savannah. Good morning. ICE agents are expected to be back out in full force here again today, with other federal law enforcement agencies helping with the roundups too. And now the Trump administration sending a message to the world, threatening another close U.S. ally with tariffs. This morning, President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration is ramping up in cities nationwide, including Los Angeles, Denver, and Chicago.
We immediately halted all illegal entry and began sending every border trespasser and violator back to the places from which they came.
His mass deportation plan now sparking an international standoff. Colombia, typically a close U.S. ally, turning away 2 American military aircraft with deportees. The country's president saying a migrant is not a criminal and should be treated with the dignity a human being deserves. Trump threatening Colombia with a 25% tariff on all Colombian goods coming to the U.S. and also demanding the U.S. visas of Colombian government officials be revoked. Colombia's leader then attacking Trump online, saying, "You will never dominate us." But later, the country reversing course, according to the White House, agreeing to all of President Trump's terms, including the unrestricted acceptance of migrants.
And I think that we got a strong president, President Trump. We got a strong president who's going to demand action. If they don't act, then there'll be consequences.
In Chicago, Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, overseeing expanded operations to arrest undocumented immigrants. The Washington Post, citing 4 people with knowledge of ICE briefings, reports that the agency has set a quota of at least 1,200 to 1,500 arrests per day.
Is that what you're hoping for? Look, we want to get as many criminals as possible. So there's no number on it.
Overnight, ICE saying it made nearly 1,000 arrests nationwide on Sunday, the most so far. Since Trump's inauguration, the agency says it's taken more than 2,600 people into custody. Advocates worry undocumented immigrants with no violent records will be swept up too.
It's quite disturbing. They're going after people who are law-abiding, who are holding down jobs, who have families here, who may have been here for a decade or 2 decades, and they're often our neighbors and our friends.
President Trump's border czar told me that there were so-called collateral arrests yesterday. Those are undocumented immigrants without violent records who happen to be nearby when ICE agents go after their main targets. Savannah?
All right, Gabe, thank you. I want to turn now to our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson. Hallie, good morning. Immigration, obviously the big news over the weekend, but Friday night also, President Trump firing 18 inspectors general. These are the watchdogs inside federal agencies. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, President Trump is defending that move, Savannah, those firings that happened late into the night. Even his critics, like Chuck Schumer, the Democratic senator, are describing this as, in his words, a chilling purge. Now, here's the thing. Federal law says the president's supposed to give Congress 30 days notice before he does fire or remove an inspector general. And while Trump ally Senator Lindsey Graham acknowledged that technically the president violated the law, he says he's not really losing sleep about it since the president does have the authority to ultimately remove these watchdogs. One of those now fired IGs over at the Interior Department tells NBC News that the key question moving forward now is who the president appoints at this point, true watchdogs or, in this person's words, lapdogs. The president said on Saturday night he's going to put very good people in place. Savannah.
Hallie, President Trump starting to fill out his cabinet. There was a controversial pick for the Pentagon, Pete Hegseth. He was confirmed. There are a few other controversial picks that will face congressional spotlight this week. What are you watching for?
Yeah, no kidding. We're looking ahead, Craig, to this trio of high-profile hearings later this week, and you could see some fireworks. Starting Wednesday, when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. holds his first confirmation hearing. He, of course, has promoted anti-vaccine conspiracy theories. He's now up to serve as health secretary. There's also Tulsi Gabbard, whose controversial meeting with Syria's Bashar al-Assad is now in the spotlight. She is looking to be the director of national intelligence. And then Thursday, Kash Patel as well. He's a loyalist up to lead the FBI, who is certain to face questions about political retribution after publishing what critics call an enemies list. Now, all of this comes as President Trump now has a couple of new cabinet picks in place and confirmed. Not just DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, but as you mentioned, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Now, Vice President J.D. Vance had to come to the Capitol to break a tie on Hegseth's confirmation. That's only the second time that's ever happened. It really gives you a sense of how close this vote was. You had 3 Republican senators breaking with their party, Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Mitch McConnell. They voted no, but obviously, ultimately, Hegseth's confirmation went through. And then I'll just flag today, there's a really important confirmation vote when it comes to the economy. That's Scott Bessent. He's expected to be the new Treasury Secretary by the end of today, Craig.
Our senior Washington correspondent, Hallie Jackson.
Thank you, Hallie.
We were following some breaking news from the Middle East overnight as well. Israel allowing thousands to return to Gaza for the first time in more than a year. It follows a weekend that saw some new snags threaten the shaky ceasefire with Hamas, but also saw the release of more Israeli hostages, clearing the way for the possible release of American captives. NBC's Raf Sanchez joins us from Tel Aviv with the very latest. Raf, good morning.
Craig, good morning. We were expecting just 3 hostages to be released this week, but after late-night crisis negotiations, Israel now says a total of 6 hostages will be coming home, potentially including an American.
After weekends that saw 4 female Israeli soldiers released from Hamas captivity, Israel now preparing for the return of 6 more hostages in the coming days. A breakthrough in crisis talks after Hamas agreed to free Arbel Yehud, a civilian, raising hopes that American Keith Siegel could be free this week. In return, Israel this morning allowing thousands of displaced Palestinian civilians to go home to the ruins of northern Gaza. But President Trump igniting a diplomatic storm, suggesting most of Gaza's population could be moved to Egypt and Jordan for their own safety.
I mean, you're talking about probably 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing. It's literally a demolition site right now.
Egypt and Jordan, U.S. allies, rejecting the idea. While in Israel, the soldiers known as the Watchtower Girls finally came home, reunited with their parents before flying back to Tel Aviv.
And it is hovering over the helipad now.
This was Liri Al-Bag on the morning of October 7th. Her family invited us exclusively to be with them as they anxiously awaited news.
It's a big moment for us, but there are so many lives that were lost in this war, and on that day, we were so sorry for them.